Every Monday morning in New York City, the subway station at Lexington Avenue was filled with the usual rush of people. Office workers hurried down the stairs, students checked their phones, and trains arrived every few minutes with a loud screech of metal. Among all those busy commuters, there was one person who stood out. Her name was Eleanor Brooks. Eleanor was 82 years old. She had short white hair, soft blue eyes, and a calm expression that rarely changed. Every Monday morning at exactly 8:15 a.m., Eleanor arrived at the station wearing the same long gray coat and carrying a small leather handbag. The strange thing was that Eleanor did not look like the other commuters. She was not rushing. She was not checking the time. Instead, she walked slowly and confidently to the same bench on the platform and sat down. And every Monday, she boarded the same train. The regular passengers had begun to notice her routine. Some of them saw her every week. Some even started calling her the Monday Lady. But no one knew why she made that trip. The train ride lasted only 20 minutes. Eleanor would sit quietly by the window, looking outside as the city passed by. Then she would exit at a small station in Brooklyn. She would walk out of the station, disappear for about 30 minutes, and then return to take the next train back home. This routine had continued for nearly 15 years. One morning, a young college student named Daniel happened to sit beside Eleanor on the train. Daniel had noticed her before and had always been curious about her. Finally, he gathered the courage to speak. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said politely. Eleanor turned toward him with a gentle smile. "Yes. I hope you don't mind me asking," Daniel said, "but I see you on this train almost every Monday." Eleanor chuckled softly. "Do you now?" Daniel nodded. "You always take this train and get off at the same station." Eleanor looked out the window for a moment. "That's true." Daniel hesitated, then asked the question he had been wondering about. "Why?" Eleanor's smile faded slightly. For a moment, Daniel thought he might have asked something too personal. But then Eleanor spoke. "Because I made a promise." Daniel waited quietly. Eleanor looked at the passing buildings outside the train window. "Many years ago," she began, "my husband and I used to take this train together every Monday morning." Daniel listened carefully. Eleanor explained that her husband, James, had worked at a small bookstore in Brooklyn. Every Monday, they would travel together on the subway. James loved books more than anything, but what he loved most was spending that quiet train ride with Eleanor. "We used to sit by the window," she said softly. "Just like this." Daniel smiled slightly. "That sounds nice." "It was," Eleanor replied. But then her voice grew quieter. One day, James became very sick. Doctors soon discovered that he had a serious illness. Despite treatment, his condition continued to worsen. During his final weeks, James asked Eleanor for one simple promise. He said, Eleanor continued, "Even after I'm gone, take our Monday train once in a while, just so you remember the little moments we shared." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. "So you kept the promise," he said. Eleanor nodded. "Yes. Every Monday." The train slowed as it approached the Brooklyn station. Eleanor stood up slowly. "This is my stop," she said. Daniel hesitated. "Do you mind if I walk with you?" Eleanor looked surprised, but she nodded. "Of course." They walked out of the station together and turned onto a quiet street lined with old brick buildings. After a short walk, they stopped in front of a small bookstore. The sign above the door read, "James and Eleanor's Books." Daniel looked confused. "You own this store?" Eleanor smiled. "I used to." She explained that after James passed away, she tried running the bookstore alone for a few years. But eventually she became too old to manage it. The store was sold to a young couple who promised to keep the name the same. Eleanor walked inside. The smell of old paper and coffee filled the air. The new owners greeted her warmly. "Good morning, Mrs. Brooks," the woman said. "Good morning, dear," Eleanor replied. Daniel watched as Eleanor slowly walked to the back of the store. There was a small reading corner with 2 chairs. Eleanor sat down in one of them. "This used to be James's favorite spot," she said. Daniel sat across from her. "So, every Monday," he asked, "you come here just to remember him?" Eleanor nodded. "Yes." She looked around the bookstore. "But also to remember something important." "What's that?" Daniel asked. Eleanor smiled gently. That love doesn't disappear just because someone is gone. Daniel remained silent for a moment. Outside, the city continued its busy rhythm. Cars passed. People hurried along the sidewalks. But inside that little bookstore, time seemed to move more slowly. After half an hour, Eleanor stood up again. Well, she said, it's time for me to catch the next train. Daniel walked her back to the station. Before they parted ways, he spoke again. Mrs. Brooks. Yes, I think that's the most beautiful promise I've ever heard. Eleanor smiled warmly. Some promises, she said, are worth keeping forever. Then she stepped onto the train once again, continuing a journey that had started many decades earlier. And as long as she could walk down those subway stairs, Eleanor Brooks would never miss her Monday train.